So we're in Nairobi today and here with Ikal Angelei, who's the director of the Friends of Lake Turkana, an NGO based in northern Kenya. Ikal is a Kenyan politician and an environmentalist, and she's very well known as an activist, and she represents community interests within the Turkana Basin. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Ikal, firstly, what are some of the greatest opportunities and challenges in engaging with companies?
One of the challenges is that companies create a contract with the government, and so they're the binding entities, government and the companies. So communities are never within the conversation, and any chances when communities try and engage the companies, there is always the protection and companies saying that, well, we do not have an agreement with you, our government is with the government. And so communities start to feel that companies are hiding behind government, because in many cases government does these discussions within the capital cities and is rarely engaging at the local level where the operations and extraction is going on. On the other hand, is in the search for a social license by companies, they see the need to engage communities at a certain level, whether it's through communities, CSR, whether it's through various means, but they see the business sense in engaging communities for them to continuously work and have less interruptions while undertaking their work.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the social license to operate, and in your view, and from the perspective of communities, what do companies need to do in order to acquire the social license to operate?
I think in the first case is take communities as partners in this, because while the companies are putting in their money to get resources out of it, communities are losing a livelihood. So it is a situation where communities are partners in it. They live there, and after the companies have undertaken their operations and left, communities are still left there. So I think that's one of the key places. And in the engagement, continue, not just make a one-off engagement during crisis, but have a sustained engagement with communities at all levels of their operations.
What kind of communication are you referring to? What kind of community engagement do you see as most appropriate in the context of Turkana?
I think within the context of Turkana, it's on all levels, because a lot of the extractive resources are still not yet devolved. There is a need to engage the county government, because they are the government that is elected by the communities, so they're representatives. The members of parliament, the members of the county assembly, so the elected officials first, but also ensure that it's not only the elected officials exclusively, but make sure that there are structures, whether it's the traditional structures where they engage the local communities, and in this case try and look at it that it's not homogeneous, and ensure that there's youth engagement, there's the elders engagement, there's the women engagement, and it is through and through. But also the business community should be seen as partners, and really see it's not communities who are just receiving things, but communities who can contribute to the entire operations that the companies are having.
We know that trust is an important issue. So what are the priorities in terms of trust building between the different stakeholders in any sort of community engagement?
I think there should be a deliberate effort to make all information public, at least the information that is legally allowed to be made public. So that should be the first step. And in many cases, companies end up giving out information only in bits and at the times of crisis. So I think the first step is making it very public, letting communities know that we are here, we will take up this much land. It's not, the expansion method, because communities see you in one area and then the next minute they're seeing you covering a larger area without them knowing what the plan is. So showing them, enabling them to understand what the operations are, how long they will take, what is the impacts, and make it as open as possible. I think that creates the platform for building trust, because they can see that you're open from the beginning. But in the cases where companies come in and are giving communities information in bits, and mainly through some leadership or communities get this information from other sources, then it creates that distrust. So I think in the first place is making it open, being transparent, creating spaces and engaging, having communication with communities throughout the process and not only during crisis.
So what I'm getting from you here is ensuring that there's access to full information, there's transparency, there's constant communication, because if you look at the guiding principles, you talk about, active due diligence, and that, communication should be an ongoing process and not just a one-off exercise.
Yes.
So just to wrap up, we are here at the end of the first day of our workshop, organised by the Institute for Human Rights and Business on Enhancing Community Engagement in Kenya's extractive sector. Without breaking the Chatham House rule, of course, what are your main takeaways from the first day of the discussions?
I think you can see the challenges that are faced by the business sector, by the certain institutions of government, because as you can see that different government sectors are not speaking to each other. So there's that gap. but also communities and civil societies, because again, with communities now, with poverty levels, illiteracy levels, there's always that discourse of who gives the civil society the mandate of representing the communities. So you can see all the conversations, and you can see the gaps and challenges. But then for me, it is a process, and I'm happy because it's within the Nairobi process, and you realize the word process, that all this conversations for sustainable natural resource development, generally, we will have to, it's going to be a continuous process of bringing all stakeholders, the private sector, the government, and the communities on board.
Ikal, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you.